Hi, Mona Lawyer again, and we're talking about human rights in this segment. And yes, in the previous one to this, I think I did 10 human rights, and now I'm going to be doing 11 to 20 of the international human rights. When I'm talking about human rights, I'm talking about how we have a right to defend our human rights in a court of law, because it's actually illegal to violate someone's human rights. And that the Human Rights Act in 1998. And of course, we have the International Human Rights Day on the 10th of December every year. And that also puts into practice how to protect an individual's human rights. So we're going to go number 11, which is innocent until proven guilty. Nobody should be blamed for doing something until it's proven. If somebody's done something bad, you need to have the evidence to say that they've done something bad. So a lot of times you'll find that, people have a suspicion that somebody's done something wrong. But if you can't prove it, they are meant to be innocent. And there was a lot of that controversy with O.J. Simpson. Nobody knew whether he was guilty or innocent, and it was because they couldn't prove it. Similarly, there's been other cases, I can't think of any to mind, but that one came to mind. I think Cosby is another one. I think they found him not guilty. Nobody knows, but whatever it is, if you haven't got the evidence, it's no point putting someone to try. But the only thing with those things is that when somebody's rich, all their money goes into defending themselves, and it can be an expensive exercise and not a very pleasant one, because you never ever gain credibility after going through that. Even if you end up being innocent at the end of it, you're staying, there'll always be that shadow of doubt. There'll always be people thinking, oh, did he or did he not? And so once you've been dragged through the mud, forget it. You might as well be guilty. The right to privacy. Now, that's another controversial one, because no one should harm the good name. Nobody has a right to come into the home or open someone's letters or bother a family without reason. I think that mainly deals with, like celebrities, because you find that, the paparazzi, they violate their privacy so much. But we also have privacy on a lot of different levels. We have CCTVs, you can be walking the streets, you don't even know you're being watched. The other day I mentioned the biometric scan, where, if I didn't know about that, I wouldn't know that I was being watched, and that, things I might think I'm doing in private are being seen. There's lots of invasions of our privacy, and now there's this big thing about Facebook. They've now taken over WhatsApp, so they can now, access your cameras, and they can access your messages and all sorts. So privacy, I'm not quite sure how they'll manage to prove that, because I don't know how somebody would take that to a court of law, because they will always be arguing that it's in light of public protection. So another one, freedom to move. We all have a right to move where we want to go to, which country we want to travel to. We have a right, but it doesn't mean that it's going to take place, does it? Because I know that in certain countries, especially with this new immigration ban, people can't go freely from one country to another. I know that in Jamaica, they've got a stringent process in place to ensure that they don't leave the country and go anywhere else. If it's not visas, it's money, it's something to make sure that they make it difficult. They won't say no, because they're not allowed to say no. It's against your human rights. But they'll do their damn best to make sure that that person isn't free to go as and where they like. I didn't realise it was a human right, though. And the right to asylum, if we're frightened or treated badly in our own country, we have the right to run away to another country to be safe. Now, that's also debatable, because what with Brexit and this big immigration thing that went on, and them showing all these thousands and thousands of Syrian refugees and all these other refugees leaving their country and coming here to asylum and other parts of Europe for asylum, they're stopping that now. So if that's a human right, how can they stop it? But they are stopping it. So that's another debatable thing, because when do you stop it? When do you say, okay, enough is enough? And then if you've got it written in law that it's a human right to seek asylum, to be somewhere safe, how can you then say you can't do that? That's a tricky one. The right to nationality. Oh well, the right to nationality, we all have a right to belong to a country. That's another tricky one, isn't it? Because some people, you're born in one country, but now with these new immigration laws, just because you're born here doesn't mean you can stay here. Whose nationality do you assume? Do you assume your parents' nationality? How does that work? Another tricky one. Your right to marriage and a family. I didn't know that this was a human right. Every grown-up has the right to marry and have a family, and if they want, men and women have the same rights when they're married and when they're separated. I think they're kind of talking about whether you're married or separated, you have the right, integral right to whether it's property, money, children, all of those kind of things. I can't see that. I guess when you think about you have the right to marry, what about those forced marriages? I mean, that they don't want to, where they don't want to get married, but yet they're bound into marriage, forced into marriage. Does that go against human rights? You know, a lot of these rights are quite controversial and debatable. The right to your own things. Everyone has the right to their own things, to share them. Nobody should take our things from us. Well, I guess that comes under theft and robbery. You know, nobody should steal. That's a bit like the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not steal. So I guess that would be more clearer to me as a human right title to say thou shalt not steal. You shouldn't steal from another human being. Freedom of thought. We all have the right to believe in what we want to believe. We have a right to religion and to change it if we want. Now, that's another tricky one, because yes, we have a right to think and feel, but we still need to be sensitive to other people. You can't just, you know, say anything you want without having, some kind of sensitivity. And that's what's caused a lot of problems, because you find, especially in those people in positions of power, they say something out of line and then they're sued for it. You know, so it's not a human right, is it? You can't say what you want. There should be some kind of proviso in there, but there isn't. So that was number 18. I'm going to do 2 more and then we're going to go into the final video for the last 10. Free to say what you want. That's a bit similar to number 18, freedom of thought. You have the right to believe. And this is the one that's saying you have the right to say what you want. We all have the right to make up our own minds, to think what we like, to say what we think, and to share our ideas with other people. That also should come with a proviso, because for some people who are not emotionally intelligent, they can let that turn into, people would be insulting on the street. There has to be boundaries, and there has to be self-discipline when applying that human right. Otherwise, it could be quite chaotic. Meet where you like. We all have the right to meet our friends and to work together in peace and defend our rights. Nobody can make us join a group if we don't want to. I guess this is more to do with people who inflict pressure on others and people who force behaviours on others, and systems and religions. I think that's what that's got more to do with than, And because these are international human rights and we're dealing with a lot of cultures and a lot of countries, I guess that's why it's much more meaningful. And probably that's why the other two are, because if you think about South Korea and certain Islamic countries, they're not free to say, they're not free to think. Well, most of them aren't. I won't make a generalization there. But, some of them are not free to think. They're not free to do and be as they would like. There's a strict regime in place. The right to democracy. We all have the right to take part in the government of our country. Oh, I've gone over to 21. Okay, so I'll take that one up in the next video. So this is Mona Lloyd, Blackbright News. Previous issues can be found at www.issuu.com/Blackbright News.